Hi, FIFA. I got your message. Let's see if I can change the settings quickly. There you go. FIFA for you. Just want to see if it works on your side.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, perfect.
Okay, cool.
Good morning, those who have joined. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes because we're a little bit early. Just wait for everybody to join us. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. If you don't mind just putting yourself on mute, we're just waiting for everybody to join us. Welcome, everybody. We're just going to wait a couple more minutes and then we can get started. Okay, we'll get started. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our How to Use a Marketing Calendar workshop. Great to have you with us this month. Just a little introduction to the marketing team. If you don't know me already, I'm Stacey. I'm the Global Social Media Manager. I'm based in South Africa. I'm very grateful to have FIFA on the line with me. She's helping me manage the call today. We've got Andrew, who's a marketing and sales director, who's based in the UK. We've got Yvonne, who does our amazing graphics, and she's based in Singapore. And Rebecca Ma is operations manager based in China. So very small marketing department, but we get the work done as best as we can. So that's just a little bit about us, if you don't know. So today we're going to talk about our marketing calendar. Now, before you can even think about your marketing calendar for your business, for your institutes, you have to have done a marketing strategy. So your marketing strategy, what you generally do is look in terms of what your business goals are and what you want your outcome to be for the next year, for an example. So you always create a marketing strategy, then to think about, okay, all your marketing touch points that you use in your business and how you can improve your results from last year, how you can achieve the goals that you want for this year. So, for example, you could have a goal that you want to increase your revenue from last year. A lot of people are looking post-COVID and they want to increase their revenue. And for a lot of centers, that means increasing the number of students, especially if you're doing face-to-face teaching. And you can now get more students in your classes, in your centers. So that's now a lot of people's goals, and they want to now increase the amount of students they get. So with the marketing strategy, you're going to look at your marketing plan. And the marketing plan is all the elements that go into your marketing strategy and how you can improve all your marketing materials, where you have marketing related things on platforms, printed marketing. So you have to have a plan about who your customer is, who your target market is, and where could they find in relation to you. So one, you can see in this diagrams here, you're going to think of things about your sales promotion. So what products do you offer? Are they ideally targeted towards your markets? The types of products, the placements of them, again, it goes in terms of your target markets. Are they right in your current industry that you're in? So for example, for the education industry, if you target only to do computer programs, you don't now want to include a program about cooking or fashion kind of thing, if that's not what your niche market is. So you've also got to look into doing research about your competitors, what other programs are out there that's competition for yourself. And also look at your pricing. How much is your product priced at? Is it competitive with others on the market? What is the value of your product? Then you look in terms of your sales process. So how can you sell your product to your target markets? And with that comes advertising. So what type of advertising can you do for the product, and where can you find people? The public relations is obviously how the messaging of your brand that goes out into the world to reach your target markets. Your strategy, how are you going to get your messaging out there? How are you going to get people to know what products you're doing? Your branding is very important. You want people to know who you are. You want to be aware. You want them to be aware of you in the markets. That goes with publicity as well. You want good publicity over bad. You want to increase your reviews from customers. You want to have good standing with them, create loyal customers. Students, obviously, you want them to stay on for a full pathway, and you want them to recommend them to friends, family, so you get more, you can increase your customers. And then you have direct marketing, which is you going directly to your students and where you will find them. So for example, if it's a product you do like the International Foundation program, you could target them directly from schools. So That's why having a marketing plan and a strategy is important. You need to think about everything relating to how you can get your products to your ideal target markets. And once you've got that plan, you can then do a calendar in terms of, okay, how do I do that? When do I do it? So let's talk a little bit about the calendar. That's why we're here today. And we found that not many people know exactly how to use a calendar. And there's so much information out there these days that is quite overwhelming. So I'm going to share with you a simple way to manage it that I would suggest. Obviously, it's up to you, but we're giving you suggestions on how you can do it. Okay, so basically, what is a marketing calendar? All of the activities we mentioned about how to find your ideal target markets, you then need to create a plan, which we've spoken about. Now you're going to actually put it into a schedule in terms of what activities you're going to do, when, for who, which platforms, etc. So it's generally done at the beginning of the year, financial year. So for a lot of us, it's now from July, and you do it for the next 4 quarters. And what's you can do then is do a review after each quarter to see what you've done has worked and what hasn't worked. But now you're going to go and think about what kind of campaigns you want to do. So in the beginning, I mentioned doing student recruitment. So that can be one of your campaigns. And then how are you going to do that? So that's an activity that's going to go into your schedule. And I'm going to show you some ideas in terms of how to put it into a calendar and what you can do therefrom. Another thing why having a marketing calendar is important is because everybody in your company can know exactly what projects you're working on. It can include new program launches, it can include student recruitment drives, it can include just weekly newsletters, doing campaigns on social media, any promotions that you might have. It's all in one document place that everyone in the company can access. And what also it does, it helps give clear indication to your marketing department what they need to focus on for the next year. And you can hold them accountable in terms of what they need to do. And if something doesn't work, why did it not work? So you know who's in charge of everything. So for example, if you have a very large marketing department, you can split it up between the people. If you have a very small one, you can help in terms of the workload, knowing exactly what they need to do. So, and you can hold people accountable in terms of what their KPIs may be, in terms of improving the amount of followers you have on social media, the amount of blog posts you send out. That's why having a calendar really, really helps. It also does when your projects are due, so there's no more missing special events, missing deadlines. Everything is pre-scheduled, so you know exactly when it's going to happen. And having the calendar will just help you make sure you get it done before it's too late, basically. So in terms of the types of marketing calendar, if you just do a Google search, you'll see that there's lots of different types. So you've got to find one that's relative to you and what your center does, and also what's the easiest for your marketing department to use and understand. So there's different ones in terms of an editorial or content calendar. That's done more so with social media platforms. But if you are a physical center now that has face-to-face students and you do advertising online, you have to put both of those concepts into your calendar, because you're not only dealing with online advertising, you're dealing with in-person advertising. Because if a potential student comes into your center, you want to have marketing materials up on the wall, a poster on the wall, a flyer available, a brochure. Your company stationery could be as a marketing tool. So these are all tools that you need to think about. So what's good is to understand your touch points in terms of if somebody walks into the center, or if someone goes to your website or sees you on social media. So the touch points are important. That's why you have this included in your activities, and then you can create your calendar from there. Another type of calendar is a campaign calendar. So I mentioned like doing a student recruitment drive. So you know a specific intake is at a certain time and you want to take 3 months for student recruitment. You need to have that in your calendar, know exactly when you're going to start, and then list the activities you want to do regards to that campaign. And I'll show you some of those in the examples that are going to come up. Social media, we know that social media and digital marketing are very important these days, especially with COVID. We saw a big increase in digital marketing. And you want to be able to reach your potential students that you might not necessarily be able to come past your center or get a referral from a student. So your students could be anywhere within your local vicinity, or if you are an internationally online center, school, you want to be able to reach them via digital marketing. So, and then an integrated one is basically a combination of all of those into one place. It also includes doing press releases, if you do TV advertising, radio advertising, if you do third-party advertising where you list with in a listing, a directory, a local directory, things like that. That must all be within your marketing calendar under all the activities that you want to do. So to create your calendar, always do it according to your business financial year, and you can break it up into the quarters. And things to consider when you're doing your marketing calendar, like I've mentioned some previously, is things like your intakes, your registration deadlines, any advertising campaigns you want to do, if they're digital or if they're printed. So for example, if you're having an open day, you want to have some advertising available on that open day. You want to have banners and flyers to hand out to potential students so they can take something home with them so they don't forget about you. You want to have content pieces that can be either by yourself in terms of on your own platforms, like your websites, publications. It could be the third-party publications like local magazines. That goes with public relations. Media relations is obviously anything to do with TV, radio. If you do advertising on those platforms, you want to have all of the bases that a potential student would be able to find you or hear about you. You want to have some form of advertising on that platform, depending on budgets, is depending on how much you can do. Your social media campaigns, and most importantly, if you have a database of students and potential students, you want to do email marketing, as well as any leads you collect through any of your campaigns. You want to be able to do email marketing to them. Okay, so let's go. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a second and then just share another document because it's in Excel. FIFA, I'm just going to ask that you can see it okay?
Yes, maybe you can zoom in a little bit.
Okie dokie, I will do that. Okay, so this is a basic overview of a marketing.
Okay, better.
Thanks, Viva. So it's a basic overview of a marketing calendar. So you'll see that I've got all the months here from January to December. So for example, if your financial year starts in July, your first month would be July, and then it would obviously end in June. So you have all your months, and then you'll have your activities down the side, depending on what activities you do. So I use online marketing because it's one of the easiest things nowadays is online marketing. There are different social media platforms, and then obviously as well as Google and your websites. So these are all online platforms that you own as a company so that you can do a lot of your own advertising on them. So what I've done here is just an overview in terms of when you should market on those places, in terms of what your activity schedule is. So this is based on your own activity schedule in terms of when is your intakes, when is your deadlines. This is be specific to you and how you do it. I mean, you might only have NCC programs, you might have other programs, so you have to make sure you have that activity schedule in terms of all your intakes, all the important dates you need to know. So for example, I'll use Uclan because the deadline's coming up on the 12th of August. You would know that for the deadline beforehand, 2 to 3 months beforehand, you want to do student recruitment for that to get people to register before the deadline. So you would have to accommodate that in terms of your activities. So I'm going to go into more depth version now, because this is just a timeline where things can overlap, etc. And just to give you an idea of some of the activities. So let's have a look. And I've done it very basic because obviously each center is different in terms of how they do things, but I'm just wanting to show you an idea in terms of how you can do it. So let's have a look here. So you've got a campaign type. So I spoke about having different campaigns depending on what your activities are. So for example, a national marketing. So that is building awareness in terms of in your country or in your city. It doesn't matter how narrow you want to go, but then it's about building brand awareness. So getting your students to find out who you are and where you are, etc. And you're building that awareness in terms of who you are, what your offering is to your potential students, potential target markets. So you can think of ideas in terms of how could you reach them in a physical form. So here we got publications. So I mentioned that using local publications, be it newspapers, be it community magazines, special flyers that go out. It depends on what's available in your local markets. If you have, for example, like a telephone directory, that's a publication, that's a national marketing tool. White pages, things like that. Obviously, COVID has seen a lot of physical marketing being kind of pushed down and a lot more in terms of the digital online. But we will see that increase now that COVID is subsiding in certain countries. And a lot of people are thinking about that as well, because tangible things are quite useful for customers, because they will hang on to it if it's something that they're really interested on. And they might not do it now, but in 3 months' time, they might find it again and then make you think about it. So by the time it comes to the next intake, they might be ready to. Another thing is banner ads. So as well as doing publications and printed, you can do banner adverts. So you'll generally see them on your local listing sites. So for example, in South Africa, we have one called Gumtree. There's another one called Bid or Buy. What they are is people list things they want to sell or services they want to offer. And at the top, you'll usually see a banner from a different company, or you'll see something on the side. So it's different to Google Ads. It's done specifically through the website where they create a listing that you can purchase space. And that's how you can do that. In terms of the publications, then you can purchase an advertising block where you can have your advertisements in their publication to talk about your programs, the registration dates, etc. Those are kind of ideas in terms of what you can do for national marketing. So local marketing is more specific to the city or the town that you're in, and it's also done through, you can do it through Google Ads, so targeting people within your area. You can do it through Facebook targeting. The web adverts, so Google is really great for that. So if you don't already, definitely look into do Google advertising for local marketing. So what then happens is if somebody types into Google that they're looking for an education institute like yourself, you will come up as near them location based. So it's geolocation. So for example, if the student is 10 kilometers away and there's only your center available, then obviously the realistic choice would be that they would come to your institute because you're close by. So that's why Google Adverts is really great, especially listing your business on Google Adverts and listing your location. So it allows you to be picked up on the map. So even if somebody is going to a different location, they would still see your geotag on Google Maps, and they would see your location. So it's really good to do things like that. If you're doing promotions as well, so you can do, if you're doing a specific sale or something on a program, You can also do adverts through that way as well, through Google advertising. Using your city name works really well as well in the actual advert itself. So there's just some ideas you can do in terms of campaigns. Banners, so I mentioned if you're doing an open day or if potential students come into your scene, so having a banner up there just explaining a specific product or what you do, and having that marketing collateral there actually just helps people envision themselves going there, because they can be, the marketing can be relatable as something they want to aspire to. For example, if it's a program, getting a degree in computing is something they want to do, so they see that firsthand versus just seeing a building, which can be quite daunting to potential students. Another thing is flyers. I did mention this at the beginning, but for example, if you're doing an IFD program and you have your people are finishing school, so your school leavers, and you want to target them in terms of a student recruitment drive, you can print flyers, and with permission, obviously go to schools and ask if you can hand out flyers. If the schools do open days or career days, it's definitely, you could take banners, take flyers to things like that, just to help build up awareness about you and to help boost your student recruitment. So those are just some ideas in terms of campaigns. In terms of this calendar, what you'll see here is we've got the campaign types. Then we've got to assign to. So I mentioned in the beginning, holding the person in the marketing department who's managing that campaign accountable to that, and to ensure it gets done and it's done within the deadline. So whoever the person is, even if you use an outsourced marketing company, you don't have your own marketing department. This is why it's also important, because if there's information that you as a center needs to supply to your outsourced company, you have to have somebody who's assigned to that project from within your company. Obviously our objectives, so like the flyers I mentioned, student recruitment. Why it's important is because when you're designing the flyers, you know exactly what your objective is, and then you can go drill down into the brief in terms of what information you want to have on that marketing collateral. Here we've got the dates, so I just picked up the first quarter, so July, August, and September. So where it's colored blocked, you can say that you want to do the campaign in that block or that month. You can obviously drill down into specific dates if you want to. A lot of other calendars, they do it week by week, which can help if you've got a larger marketing department, or you want to do things specifically by a week if you want to run different campaigns for the same thing on different weeks. So like August, I mentioned the Uclan Deadlines coming up. So we want to do web advertising just to help further promote it before the deadline happens. We want to do it in July and into to the first week of August. This is where you would indicate that. And then if you want to add more details, so for like the flyers, for example, you want to create and print artwork, how many you're going to print, and etc. could be on your actual brief, but then you can add in your budget. Now, every marketing strategy would then have a marketing budget, which then is obviously controlled by the finance department, and you want to make sure that you're in line with the budget that is approved. And this is how you can also track it. So you can have this linked to your budget spreadsheets, and to make sure you're not going over budget. And then if you don't do a specific campaign that you had previously budgeted for, then you know you've got additional budget available that can be allocated somewhere else. So including the budget's very important. You can also then add in another column if you want to say the actual. So if something was budgeted at $200, for example, but it actually cost you $250, you want to add that in so you can see your return on investments when it comes to your intakes, and then also in terms of the costings, in terms of how much things cost for the next year as well. So having all that information in one document is really, really useful, and then linking it to your other documents. So when you do come to do your marketing strategy next year, you know what worked, what didn't work, what costs more to do. So having all the information is really good. And also it's good because if you don't have a marketing department, or you do and you have one person doing it only, if that person then decides to leave or something happens, then somebody else can come in and take in and know exactly what is happening. So this is why having a project-based calendar is really great as well. And you can then also see the progress of it. Is it in progress? Has it started? Has it been completed? It's a really great tool to use for this. So yeah, that's how you can set up your calendar. And then you can see that I'll just scroll down to see other things you can add into it. So we've got national marketing, local marketing, public relations, content marketing, social media, obviously. Social media is going to then have its own plan, because you can then go onto monthly content planning. You're online, so you should have some kind of schedule in terms of your blog, etc., which I've included in the content plan to show you. Websites, if you're doing any updates to your website, your email newsletters, if you send once a month or once every 2 months or once a quarter, you need to have that in your campaign, know exactly when it's going to happen, so you can pre-schedule, get all the content done before it needs to go out. If you do pay-per-click marketing, Google Ads, do SEO on your websites, and then also if you're doing market research, this must be in your calendar. If you're doing focus groups, if you're doing case studies on your students, things like that, add it into your marketing activities calendar, because it will definitely help you keep on track of it, and also using it in your strategy for the following year. You know you've done it. What was the outcome of it? Was it successful in terms of you were able to use it in terms of marketing materials? So from case studies, you can then use it as an example in terms of posting onto your different platforms, creating publications on your websites, doing articles on LinkedIn. So everything all the information that you do from market research, surveys, and focus groups and case studies, you can use it in other marketing collateral. If you're doing specific sales campaign, so say you want to launch a new product and you want to do a campaign around it, you can include that as well. Also, is corporate branding. If you're doing uniforms, if you're doing corporate stationery, if you're doing a rebrand, things like that should be in your marketing activities, because a lot of it's handled by your marketing department, because they are responsible for getting your brand out into the world, regardless if it's physical world or digital. Another way you can do it if you don't want to do it as detailed with all the activities like that is I've done a version here with done it by months. So basically you see here July, we're going to do flyers, who's assigned to myself, objective is student recruitment, and in the details. So that same information that was on the previous one, but instead of having it by quarters and then being broken along the way, we're going to do it down the way so you can get some more information. Plus you can add in more information if you want, like the previous things I have mentioned. So this is just another version of way you can do it. It pertains to your marketing department, how they find it the easiest to do, plus how do they find it easier to present it to somebody who's not understanding in terms of all the marketing terminology. So I mentioned doing social media and doing a content plan. So this is just an example of a content plan, and I've specifically chosen August. I've used a lot of the stuff that we do. So the number one thing with doing a content plan is to have a topic key. So having a key in terms of the different pillars, they sometimes use pillars or themes that you use, because as much as people think that social media is just, a lot of people think that social media, you can just post whatever you want, whenever you want. It's actually not true. You have to have consistency. The number one rule with any social media or any marketing is be consistent in what you do. So having these keys not only helps put a structure in the content plan, it also helps in terms of the content itself, giving you ideas and inspiration in terms of what to post, when to post. So if we have a look here, I'll just use the first week as an example. So Monday the 1st, I've chosen Evergreen Contents. You might have heard this a lot, and it's a marketing term. So Evergreen Contents is topics, content that doesn't expire. So for us, for example, it would be a program that's we're consistently have over time. It could be about yourself, so about your institute. It's things that don't ever change. So it's not going to be anything relating to deadlines or registration dates or special events. It's not going to be anything to do with that. It's going to be things that are going to be the same regardless. Obviously, if it is a program that then you update or you change, it's still an evergreen content because it belongs to you and it's something that's a product offering that you currently have and you will have for a long duration. Then we've got quotes. So a lot of people, you like to use Monday motivational quotes, or we've done wisdom on a Wednesday. So just bringing some relatable quotes into it can help. So for example, if you're in education, having famous quotes by inspirational people in terms of why education is important, in terms of the programs you offer, what type of programs. So if it's computing, some quotes or fun facts about the industry that you're in. So where did computing come from? What does it mean? All things to do with that. That's how you can do that. I've also got their deadline. Obviously, that's specific to our industry in terms of education. So the Uclan intake deadline is very important. We want to make sure that any student who wants to register for that program and wants to study that program, that they do the registration process before the deadline. So we need to send out reminders. And as you as an institute should be sending out reminders as well. So if you have any potential students on your database that haven't registered yet, they have that reminders to know that they should be doing it very soon. There on Wednesday, we've got blogs. So I mentioned including the blogs on your content plan, because you should be sharing your content from your websites into your social media platforms. And if you have a third party who does blogs or news articles about you, you should then also be sharing that onto your platforms like Facebook and your website. That's called backlinking. So basically what that does is it helps increase your SEO in terms of Google. So if somebody goes to Google and searches you, not only will they find your website and your social media page, but they'll also then find the article that was posted by the third parties. So for example, that's why ourselves, when there's a news center that's come in partnership with us, we will do a press release announcing the partnership between NCC and the center, about the programs that they offer and how you can get in contact with the center, because what that then does is we include your information there. Then a center has their own own page on our website. So when somebody Googles NCC program in a specific country, the listing that we've made on our website comes up as well as your listing as well. Backlinking is very important, and if you don't do it, definitely do some research in terms of how you should do it and how you can do it on the different platforms. It definitely helps in terms of reaching a further audience, especially through Google results, as well as if you use landing pages on TikTok and Instagram, for example. Using a landing page that then can be linked to your website and your other social media platforms definitely helps as well. Testimonials. So I mentioned case studies, anything to do with students, referring people to your course, to your center. It's very important. I always have a saying, people aspire to people. So if you think about the lifestyle industry, we see someone wearing a nice fancy watch, an Apple Watch, or this thing called a Fossil watch. People see other people wearing that, they aspire to have that for themselves. So if a student gives a testimony about how they love the Uclan program, it's going to inspire somebody else to be like that person and motivate them to find out more about the program and to potentially register. So having that definitely helps boost student recruitment. That's why testimonials are very important to have. Having student ambassadors, almost like brand ambassadors, is really good. For education, you use a lot more student ambassadors versus influencers, because influencers are very different markets. They generally do get paid for products to give reviews on products, where education is very different. So you want almost like a student ambassador who's done the program, who believes in the program, and who's happy to refer it on to somebody, regardless of any funding or being paid for it, basically. Then we go on to deadline again. Like I said, deadlines are important. Registration intakes are important. You guys as centers want to make sure that you're getting the numbers you need to when it comes to registrations, get enough people on the program to make it worthwhile for you offering that program. Miscellaneous can be anything in addition to anything else. So I've got here, for example, center news. We love sharing center news. So if your guys are having a graduation, if you've built a new department, if you've expanded the specific department that does our programs, if you've got new staff who've taken over the programs, anything relating to NCC and your center, we find that is news. So you can share it with us and we can share it on our platforms. And if there's graduations, any high achievers, things like that, we'll share it. So it's really good content to share, and it's relating to you. So it's original content that's really good for social media platforms, and you should definitely have a look at creating as much as you can. And then the last one I've got there is a special day, which wasn't on the first line. So special days is celebrations, international days, specific holidays you have in your country. You want to celebrate those with your local markets, and also international markets like to know about it. So for example, in South Africa on the 9th of August is Women's Day here. We also then have the International Women's Day that happens in a different month internationally, but people like to know what's happening in other countries, and it's just like people like to see what other countries look like. So if you have an online program where you offer to international students online and they don't live in your country, but they'd like to see your country, it's a really great content is to share just landscape images of your country, what's around your center, the nature. People like to see that. That makes them feel like they're there as well. So this is the content calendar. This is how you can lay it out. You can do it every month. I suggest if you have a large marketing department, try and pre-schedule this probably every quarter, so every 3 months. If you have a smaller marketing department, doing this every month as a monthly thing is good as well. Something like this can take about a week to do, especially then you're going to go onto the content, which I'm going to show you now. So you definitely want to have it pre-done for the month. And otherwise you scramble when it comes to posting. You don't want to keep posting for the next day, because you don't know if you're going to be sick the next day. You don't know what's going to happen. There could be a big emergency that happens. So you don't want to be worrying about the next day. Obviously, if there's additional content that gets brought up, so for example, if your students met with a partner that you didn't know that was going to happen, for example, and you wanted to share photos and a little bit about that meeting, then you can share it on the day after you receive the information. So you're not beholden to this as a guideline. So if you have additional content, you can post additional content. Okay, so then when it comes to the actual content itself, a lot of the time it's easier to put it into a format that you know exactly what images you're going to use, what you're going to say, if there's any links, if you're going to use hashtags, excuse me, and put it all into a document with your content plan. And just keeping them two together, so whoever does the actual posting onto the platforms knows exactly what's going on what day, with what information, and what's the call to action and the hashtags. So just for example, I've shown you the first three. We're going to talk about on Monday why study the BSc Honours Business Community and Information Systems program that's by Uclan. We're going to have a link that's going to go to our program page on our website. We're going to include some hashtags relating to postgraduate degrees, higher education, the Uclan itself, as well as ours. We're going to give a little bit of a brief overview in terms of what the program is, who it's for, and also include our call to action. So our call to action in this is if you want to find out more about studying this program or offering this program in your institute, you want to click this button. You're going to include for different platforms because content has to be different, specified to each platform. So LinkedIn, we know it can take quite a lot of information. And sometimes LinkedIn, you don't actually always have to do an image. Sometimes just text works really well. And if you're doing articles, any articles, press releases, do it as an article on LinkedIn. It works really well. And then also what can happen is your followers of your LinkedIn page can actually subscribe. So anytime you do release a new article, a new press release, they'll actually get an email notification to say that you've launched something, you've published something new. Twitter, we know, is very short in terms of text compared to the other platforms. So you want to make it very direct. You're doing it as a sharing platform. So you're giving information very short and sweet. And then tagging in the university, for example, in this instance, where you tag it in Uclan. Instagram. Now, Instagram can take the same information as Facebook and LinkedIn. So like this block here, but it cannot take links in the actual caption itself. So if you're going to do a link for Instagram, you would have to do the link in your bio, or sometimes you can do it in the comment, but it doesn't always work. So people always, with Instagram, they always refer to the bio, which is your profile on Instagram, and then you have a link there. Some people use a link directly to the website. Some people use a landing page link, so they know exactly where those customers are coming from if they don't do Google Analytics. So yeah, links on captions for Instagrams don't work very well. And also with Instagram, they've changed their formatting in the last week or so, that they're actually going to go more video content. You can post static images such as this one for now, but they've changed the orientation of the posting now. So instead of it being just a square like normal, like Facebook, they're now doing portrait. So that means that if you do a square like this, it will no longer fit edge to edge. It would be centered inside the rectangle. Yep, the portrait rectangle. So the reason why they're doing this is because they're going more towards reels and videos, which are all in portrait. So if you think of TikTok, they're trying to go very similar to TikTok. So a lot of the content and the static images is going to have to fit into that as well. So think about your Instagram story size. That's going to be the new sizing for Instagram posts. So yeah, so when it comes to doing this, you're going to do all your days. If you have 2 posts on one day, you can just duplicate it like I have here. This is on the 1st of August as World Wide Web Day. So it's a fun little fact relating to our industry. So we're going to do a little bit of an explanation. Where does it come from? And like I said, Twitter is very short and sweet. So we're going to say today is World Wide Web Day. Include the hashtags. I'll speak more about hashtags in a minute. But customize it for each platform the best that you can. I'm just going to stop sharing and go back to my presentation. So yeah, so that's the content. And that's how you can do it. Obviously, it's specific to how you want to do it. I'm just going to give you some tips in terms of what to post and what captioning to use. Let's wait for this to load. Sorry. Just in terms of the marketing calendar itself, so you saw that I used Excel. I just find it easier to use on Excel. I also have used Asana, which is like your project management or CMS system. If you are more that way inclined. What I used to do when I worked in a physical marketing department, I used to create my marketing calendar, and I would actually then print it onto an A3 piece of paper and stick it on the wall where the whole department could see it. And then we could also tick off the months, the weeks as they had gone past. Just having it front of mind is really good because it helps keep you on track of what's happening. And then if anything else pops up, you can add it onto the calendar right then and there. Okay, so in terms of what you can post on all your platforms, not specifically to social media, because we're also looking for content for your flyers. You can use on your websites, blogs, articles, third-party publications, banners, advertising. So just some important things that you can look at in terms of marketing collateral that you can use. Obviously, your program information is the most important. People want to know what you do, what programs you offer, your uniqueness that you bring to selling that product. So that's obviously your number one thing. The second thing I mentioned is who you are. So for example, if you've been in business for 20 odd years, using that as in your messaging is very important because it helps people know that you're an authentic brand and it becomes loyal to you. You've got that long-standingness of being a company that's been in business for a long time. I mentioned before student spotlights. So getting information on current students or your alumni or past students, give them a chance to be featured on your socials, do newsletters with them, information from them. I've also said here, doing a day in the life of a student. So if you do video content for TikTok, YouTube, all the different platforms that do video content, do a day in the life. So what you do is ask your student to video capture their day on your campus, for example, as they walk in the door, even if they want to start it at home whilst they're getting ready, then walking through your door, going to class, having lunch, being out on the campus, things like that. That's really great. Like again, people aspire to be like people, so people want to see that. So getting that information, their experience about the university is really good. Next thing, obviously, I'm going to keep mentioning this, important enrollment and deadlines, registration deadlines. Those are all very important. You can then obviously then do results release advertising once releases have been sent out. Results have been sent out. You can do advertising regarding that. So on your websites, newsletters, social media platforms, you can promote that. As you're an institute that takes admissions, any frequently asked questions about that, how people can, as your entry requirements, if you do sponsorships, if you have other campuses, anything to do with a potential student wanting to enroll with you and the process that it takes, that's a really good idea of things to post. So I've just given you an example there. If you have FAQs on your website, break it up into easy to read points and your various pan posts. And your own branding, do it however you want to do it. I also mentioned people like to see what's happening around your campus itself, what's happening in your town. So for us, for example, our head office is in the UK. You'll see that we try and do some posts about what's happening in the UK in terms of if there's any special events, what certain areas look like. So if one of our team members from the UK are going for a walk outside and they see the London Bridge, the Big Ben, even just the countryside, it's a different environment that for me, for example, in South Africa, I don't get to see. So I love to see that. And also if you have students, for example, in Nigeria, they would like to see it. So that's if you offer it on an international. Plus, we obviously will share on our platform, and you're welcome to share our content as a partner center. You can also use your social media, newsletter, printed advertising, every collateral, if you have any clubs or organizations within your campus. We can do, I mentioned about you, brand awareness. So who are you? Who's your company? Who was it founded by? How long have you been in business? New teachers, old teachers, just reaffirming everyone that's in your faculty, the faculty itself. Like I said, if you have a new department added on, you get a new canteen, you get new tree planted on campus, things like that. People want to see that. They want to feel like they're there with you, and it definitely helps in terms of that buying desire to come to your center. So the next thing is obviously for yourself, any university services that you might have, if you have a guidance counselor for any trauma-related things, or people looking for career advice, promote that on your platforms. People are always too scared, especially if like they're introverts, and they're too scared to ask for help. They don't know where to go. So having something like that definitely helps as well. And then if you offer a canteen, what's on the menu, things like that, just really helps boost not only the current students' experience, but potential students' experience. And it's going to recommend people to come join your center. Okay, so I mentioned the content plan, and then we're going to talk about just how you can post something, what you can add onto a post. So we've done some co-branded social media posts such as these, where we've got the program name and then your logo as well as our logo. If you haven't received something like this and you would like something like this, please send a message to your BDM and they will organize it. They'll send a request through to the marketing department. So for example, I just used one of our latest posts as an example. When you're posting on social media, we spoke about the different platforms in terms of how much text itself you can post and what type of content you should post. When you're doing a caption, the most important thing to remember is you want to have information so somebody can read it and understand what it is you're trying to say. And you're giving them information for them to make a decision on should they want to go further in the process with you. So, for example, in this post here, we talk about that we're hiring. So then we go on to talk about we're hiring a specific person to join our team. And then the next paragraph then talks about that person's role. What do we expect them to do? So for example, if you're doing a program, and let's use the level 4 diploma in computing with business management. So we could say something like we offer a level 4 diploma in computing with business management, and then in the next paragraph, we'd give some information about that program. Why would it be beneficial to study that program? What would be the career opportunities of that program? And then following that, you would have any considerations that would need to be met. So for example, if it's only based in your country, you could say for students in this country, if there's no considerations, you don't have to do it. You're also going to have those on your entry requirements on your website. So it's not always needed, but if you want to give more information, it definitely helps. And then you're going to have your calls to action, which is the most important thing. So if I did not have, if I just had those 1, 2, 3 first 3 sentences with just the image, it doesn't actually help us as a business, and it doesn't help the student reading it. So because they're reading it, but then they're not going to know how to find out more information. And with every single post, you should be directing them to find out more information about whatever it is you're posting, whoever you are. Even if you're doing a quote or a wisdom thing, you want to promote your services. That's what marketing is. You're trying to promote your services. So having a call to action is very important. So for example, like this one, I've said for more information and to apply, click here, and we've got a link. So that's your most important thing out of that whole text there. The most important thing is your call to action. On every single marketing material that you have, you should have a call to action, whether it say something like apply now, inquire now, sign up to find out more. book now. Those are your call to actions that should be on every single marketing material that you could possibly think of, because that is what drags the attention to somebody to say, okay, I want to find out more. I'm going to click this button. I'm going to give you a call. So that's something you need to think about in terms of all your marketing material. Underneath that, we've got two hashtags there. So in terms of hashtag relating to the industry, you can do a hashtag search there on there's a site called Best Hashtags, and you can actually search by industry. Another thing you can also do is look at Google Trends and see what's trending along with education or your institute or your country, and including those into your hashtags definitely helps. So for example, if you use TikTok, you'll know that the For You page is one of the most popular, and it's one of the most popular hashtags that's used, the FYP, that's used on TikTok. So if you want to try and go onto the For You for your target market, you're going to add that into your hashtags. In terms of length of hashtags, how many hashtags, there is no real limit in terms of how many you can use. And also people say that it's better to have more, it's better to have little. We always stick with a certain amount. It's usually between, okay, this one's only got 2, but it was a job vacancy. We probably less than 10. And the reason for that is we try to be very specific in terms of what hashtags we use. So if I was to suggest you using hashtag, look at ones very specific to who you are, what you offer. Because if you can get that, you're great. And then what you do then is you get a relatable one. So for example, if you're doing higher education, you can add in higher education. If you're targeting school leaver, you can do hashtag school. So you've got to think about things like that. And nowadays, people don't need to search with a hashtag. They just need to search by terminology. So that's why you use a hashtag. So if I was going to go onto Facebook and search for an education institute in Malawi, for example, and I typed it into Facebook, if I was posting about NASIT, for example, and I used hashtag NASIT in the post, then they would come in on that search. That's what hashtags are used for. The same is used on TikTok, Instagram, etc. If you're looking for someone, you're going to go in and type in the search word, and if you use a hashtag with that search word, it's going to come up onto the feed. It might not be on the top because it might not be directly related, but it will come into the search. And also something just on search, I know it's completely away from marketing calendar, but with search, it's been found that more people are using other platforms such as TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram to search for things rather than using Google these days. So that's now became a well-known fact. People are now using other platforms, specifically, especially TikTok with its current success, to search for things. So if you're not on those platforms, definitely get on them and make sure that your SEO is on the platforms. I've mentioned that before, and as well as your hashtags. Definitely look at things like that. Okay, I mentioned testimonials. I'm not going to go over that. So as a side note, if you're doing advertising relating to the NCC programs, make sure your messaging is relatable for us, for example. We award great British qualifications. So us using that terminology is very specific to us, and that's what makes us unique. So we use a lot of words like British qualifications, high quality British education, and that means when you're promoting our programs within your centre on your platforms, you can use those terms and phrases as well. If you'd like more information on those phrases and messages, you can check out our website. You'll see that we use it throughout all of our marketing. Just briefly, if you're creating marketing, you don't have a graphic designer, for example, you can use a program called Canva. It does really great. There are templates that you can choose, and you can customize it to your own branding. Scheduling, so you've done your content plan. Now you can then go on to schedule, and these are some examples of some scheduling tools that you can use. We use Buffer. The only downside to sometimes using a scheduler is sometimes any links or images might not be posted, which can be difficult if you're unable to edit the original post. If you use only Facebook and Instagram, you can actually use the business suite, or it's now called the Meta Creative Suite, which actually has a calendar there that you can then schedule directly from there. And it goes onto your platforms and you can pre-schedule for the month. It's a really great platform to use, a free platform to use for Facebook and Instagram, so definitely look into those. If you're going to do multiple platforms, you're going to have to look at different options because not every single scheduler uses all platforms. And if you have multiple platform accounts on platforms, it's not always going to work. So you've got to look for the best choice for you. And that's it on marketing calendar. If anyone has any questions about that, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help. If anyone would like the template that I used, I'm happy to send those as well. I will probably just send it with the recording, the link to the YouTube, as well as the presentation and the follow-up email that I'll send to everyone attending today. For next week, we're going to do, next month, we're going to do a live frequently asked questions. So if you have any questions relating to sales and marketing, myself and Andrew are going to co-host next one. Then please send us to our email address. It's there. It's marketing@nccedu.com. And if you have anything relating to sales or marketing, if you need advice on anything, obviously relating to the NC program, and I can help as much as I can in terms of marketing, but we would love to have a live session with you guys and actually hear any questions you might have, any not problems you might be having, any difficulties you might be having marketing a specific program, and how we can help in terms of sales, and we can also help in terms of getting helping your BDM, giving information to them. And if you have any requests, send it to your BDM. They will send it on to us, and we'll get to it as soon as possible. So yes, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to add them to the chat. Otherwise, you can stay on the call. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us today. We will be sending the recording out as well as a copy of the presentation for those who missed it. Thank you, everyone.